It is Saturday night again, guys, and tonight we are going to be watching one of my all-time favorites, Dennis the Menace. Now, Dennis the Menace is the movie that started it all, guys. 5 years ago when I began Saturday Night Snacking a Movie, it started with Dennis the Menace. This movie is absolutely hilarious. Tonight we are going to talk about 10 things I love about Dennis the Menace. We're going to do some trivia, we're going to do some shopping, and we're going to have an awesome snack, so stick around. Okay, guys, tonight we are going to talk about 10 things I absolutely love about the 1993 movie, Dennis the Menace. The first thing I love about this movie is the town. I've talked about this before. I grew up in small towns. I absolutely love small towns. And the town presented in this movie is exactly like every one of them. Typical small town, nice, clean, quiet neighborhoods with a ton of kids. So maybe it's not so quiet. There's always a woods and there's always a train in the distance. The second thing I love about this movie is the characters. Every character in this movie is absolutely perfect. The actors are all top-notch, and they don't leave anything on the floor when it comes to presenting these characters exactly how they should be. The kids are all perfect, the parents are perfect, the neighbors are perfect, Switchblade Sam is perfect, even this little kid named Gunther who has crossed eyes is perfect. I don't know how they get some of these kids to take direction like this on a movie set. The next thing I absolutely love is along the same lines, but it is Dennis the Menace. Dennis was played by an actor named Mason Gamble. Mason did not go on to pursue a career in Hollywood, or maybe he did and it just didn't work out, I don't know. Sometimes with child actors, it just doesn't follow them through into adult life. But as a kid playing Dennis the Menace, he was the perfect pick for this character. The next thing I love is the neighbor, Mr. Wilson. Mr. Wilson is played by Walter Matthau, and let me tell you, Walter Matthau was born to play an old man. He also plays one of the old men in the movie Grumpy Old Men, which is another one of my favorites. In fact, there it is right there. But he plays Mr. Wilson so perfectly. The things he says, the things he does, the way he walks hunched over, everything about him in this movie just screams old man who doesn't want you in his front yard. I love the tree house. Dennis, Joey, and Margaret take a little walk through the woods and they find a tree house. When I was a kid growing up, we were always building tree houses. Those three hilariously take it upon themselves to paint, to put in carpet, curtains, and just to make it their own. It makes me want to go out in my backyard and build a tree house right now. I love the train bridge. Now, like I said, I grew up in small towns. Even in the town that I live in right now, there are trains very close, there are train tracks, there are train bridges, and as a kid, we used to ride our bikes all around and hang out under the train bridge. It's just a thing that kids do in small towns. Some of the dialogue in this movie absolutely cracks me up, and I love the scene when Dennis is taking a bath at the Wilsons' house. Mrs. Wilson asks him if he's done yet, and he says yes. She says, "Do you want me to help you get out of the bathtub?" And he says, "Not unless you want to see what the stork saw." I love the following scene when Dennis is spending the night at the Wilsons' house. Mrs. Wilson is tucking him in, and she decides to tell him a poem. One that her mother told her. It's called Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. And I absolutely love that scene because at that moment, Dennis, his mom, and his dad are all three in different places, but they're all looking at the moon at the same time. It reminds me so much of the movie American Tail. Going back to the train bridge, I absolutely love the scene that takes place at the train bridge. The interaction between Dennis and Switchblade Sam. Sam is basically kidnapping Dennis, but Dennis just doesn't really realize that. He thinks he's just being a friend and they're camping camping under the train bridge. And at one point, Dennis goes up on the train bridge and he throws this giant log over and he says, "Firewood, bombs away!" I won't tell you what happens, you'll have to see it yourself. But that entire scene is hilarious. And I could go on and on and on because I love this movie so much, but I have to finish somewhere. So the number 10 thing I absolutely love about this movie is the night blooming mock orchid. Mr. Wilson is an avid gardener. He belongs to the garden club and he just won an award, so everybody's coming to his house to watch his night blooming mock orchid bloom for the one and only time in the 40-year investment it takes to have that plant. I am not a gardener, but for some reason I've always thought the night blooming mock orchid would be totally awesome to have. A 40-year investment to watch it bloom one time in the middle of the night. And that is it, guys. 10 things I absolutely love about the movie Dennis the Menace. If you haven't seen it, go see it right now. Get the VHS, get the DVD. I don't even think it's on Blu-ray or 4K right now, but it is always available to stream on your favorite streaming platform.
Kind of a wet, rainy, dreary day out here today, but we're going in a Dollar Tree again. This is always the best place to get this kind of stuff. It's cheap in here. You can find just about anything you need. And the first thing we want is some kind of like a plastic jar that would work. Actually, anything would work. A cup. Here's these clear plastic containers here. This is kind of cool right here because it has a handle on it, but that's just a little, like a water bottle, but that would work. Here's a bunch of different kinds over here, but these also are like drinking jars. They're plastic, but they also have like writing on them. Here's one with a butterfly here. I mean, that would work too if you didn't have any other choice. Here's some with glitter. That's pretty cool. Oh, that's like a 4th of July thing. That's pretty cool, but again, it's not really what we're looking for. We basically want a jar that can pass as like a bug catcher, because in Dennis's wagon he has all kinds of jars with little bugs in it and snakes and spiders and crickets. I was hoping that in the kids aisle here they might even have some kind of a bug catcher jar or something like that, but I don't see anything. Oh, look at this. Here's a slingshot. Dennis's slingshot. Let's get one of these. Let's get a green one because it's supposed to be made out of wood, and that's like the closest thing instead of red or blue. I still haven't found like a jar yet, but because I want like a mason jar, a plastic mason jar, but they have all kinds of containers in here that you could use because, I mean, Dennis would not turn this down to put a snake in. All right, wait, here we go. We got mason jars right here. These are actually glass though. So even though it's glass, I'm gonna go ahead and get this because it's exactly what I'm looking for, but I highly suggest getting plastic. All right, the next thing we need is in the snack aisle because we need to find things that are basically like little gummy worms and gummy spiders. All right, here we go. Here's the whole gummy selection here, and they always have all kinds of like gummy worms and things like that. Here's some rainbow worms. We'll grab some of those. Sour neon worms, that'll work. And let's get some of these sour punch straws. That way we can have them hanging out of there like a snake.
our bug jar full of bugs that we collected from the forest. We've got snakes in there, we've got worms in there, we've got more worms, and gumballs.